And we are back, episode 225. Adir, we're in person, first time in
Very good.
5 weeks because of me. And then you gallivant off shortly.
Well, but we're in person in cold weather. It's not terrible, but
it's
we
great
both
today.
I know, but we were both enjoying warmer weather.
You were
I was in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I was actually I was using the Gold Coast as a base.
Yeah.
And commuting around a bit.
Yeah.
Which was very nice. But yeah, we're back in person, back in Melbourne.
We love being back in person. Got
Agreed.
Mike and Joel in the room.
Agreed. Joel has had a massive haircut. We should just point that out.
Yeah.
If you don't follow,
I used to love the floppy locks he used to have. And
I
now
see you
he's,
floating around the internet. If people want to, is your haircut on the internet yet? Or
Not yet.
The
It's yet
old
to be
you is
revealed.
still on the internet.
You guys are breaking the news right now.
absolute news breakers, this podcast.
No one knows. Yeah, it's the biggest scoop we've ever had.
Literally.
Because no other. I was driving through the tunnel to get here this morning, Burnley Tunnel.
Yeah.
I noticed. You know the moving lights that they went for in
green
that tunnel.
thing? Oh.
Yeah, which well, you don't like those, Mike.
That is the
I presume
biggest
that reaction
waste
was
of money I've ever
You
seen.
realise we live in Victoria, right?
Yeah.
This is the home of wastes of money. That's like the least waste of money.
Every
That's
time I'm in that tunnel, nobody is driving to the lights.
I reckon it works. I reckon
Well,
it's
I
good.
have to disagree with
I
you
like it.
because it is well proven to work that it gets people to drive approximately that speed. And
Yeah.
today the lights were off, probably because in Victoria you can only run things periodically because there's no money to pay
brownouts.
for it. And
It's like Gorbachev's Russia, this place now.
worse.
Yeah.
And at least Gorbachev did it by accident. These guys are doing it on purpose. And so what I did notice is this, Mike, you should be paying attention to this, is that when the lights are on, people drive 80, 70 or 80, the speed limit's 80, and the lights off this morning, people driving 55.
Really?
Definitely it was much slower,
Yeah.
So there you go. I think those lights do work. And
Yeah, I guess of all the things, like there's a $15 billion of waste, corruption, fraud, and you're worried about a light
I hate,
in the
I
Burnley
hate
Tunnel.
those lights so
they
much.
cost a lot of money to put in.
Yeah.
Talking about, so since we're on this topic.
That's presumably a transurban. That was presumably a transurban thing, not a state government thing, though, right?
I think the state government, like we paid for it.
Of course we did.
Yeah, we paid for it.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about this, we just got to touch on this for a couple of minutes at the beginning. Have you followed this Labor Party conference?
I've been following the news stories.
I mean,
This is the one in Adelaide?
like that? Yeah, I think so. They have
With
it
Ed
every.
Husic wanting free Palestine and...
Oh, that's the least of it. So we'll talk about Ed Husic, but like basically all they want is every 3 years, and the main focus of it is to keep it calm. That is the whole focus of this thing. Keep it calm. Control a narrative that comes out into the media.
Yeah.
Look like when you've got, it's basically a room full of people that predominantly hate each other, like with a passion, right? And the trick is make it look like we're all friends, and because we're all in the same party, we're all in this together. Nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, the Liberal Party's got its problems without a doubt, but nothing compares to the factionalism of the Labor Party. They hate
That's
each
kind
other.
It's built into the beauty
That's
of
the
the Labor
system,
Party,
right?
Yeah.
And so what you really want, like the ideal thing for a spectator would be put an octagon in there and let them go bananas, right? But that's what they're trying to avoid. In rolls Ed Husic. The guy, he's pretty close to a human octagon, I'd call him. And so I don't know if you know the backstory of Ed Husic.
No,
but
I don't actually.
Ed Husic, in my experiences with him previously, he was actually a really good guy.
Yeah.
Fought hard for the tech
He's a tech guy.
industry.
He's the tech sector guy,
but
yeah.
also very reasonable and did
Yeah.
the homework.
Yeah.
And I felt very positively about him. And then the Gaza war started.
Yeah.
And he just went bananas. And
Yeah.
people say that
And he's obviously Muslim background.
he's Muslim, and he makes this
Where did-
statement.
which country did
I'll
his
tell
family
you,
come
but
from?
I want to refute something. So he made this statement today or yesterday on the what media outlet do you think he went to tell his story?
ABC.
Correct. And he said, Husic said that as Australia's first, now former Minister of Muslim Faith, and coming from a Bosnian Muslim background,
Bosnia?
we'll get back to that, it was only fair that he be able to express his views. And my answer to that is, don't tell me about your religion. I don't care. It's Australia. You get no special privileges and you should get no racism, irrespective of what your religion is. Why are you bringing Islam into debate in a Western liberal democracy? And I will say, a lot of people say it's because he's a Muslim, that's why he's getting worked up. But there are people that aren't Muslims that get worked up. Like Tony Burke, he gets very worked up.
Well, he's
at
got a
his-
lot of Muslim
Yeah, he
voters.
does. But
That's
also,
understandable.
this is a Bosnian Muslim. I've had lots of interactions with Bosnian Muslims. There are Bosnian Muslims I know that work in Jewish businesses where we all talk about how we go to Israel. I've never experienced this kind of, you just have to call it anti-Semitism, from a Bosnian Muslim in my entire life. And like,
Yeah.
I know enough of them.
Yeah.
Like this is Ed Husic going bananas. Eventually, he gets thrown out of being a minister. I'll tell you this backstory because he gets thrown out of being a minister
Yeah, it was after the last election he got thrown.
after the last election, together with Mark Dreyfus.
Yep.
One Muslim, one Jew.
Yeah.
I will say honestly, it may or may not be connected to their religion. I'm sure it didn't hurt that it balanced out,
Yeah.
so to speak. I mean, the fact that we call that balance is not
Yeah.
a good sign for Western democracy. And he just decided to go bananas against Albanese and especially Richard Marles. He hates Richard Marles.
Is Husic left or right of Labor?
Husic, I mean, he feels like he would have been from the right. I don't know.
And Miles is right, obviously.
Yeah,
from the
but
right.
he goes bananas, and now his entire focus is to try and damage the Albanese government as much as is humanly possible. And
And
it's hard.
let's be fair, that Albanese government doing a pretty good job of doing that without any extra help.
Yeah, that's true. Well, but he would like to bring them. I think he would like to bring Albanese down, and it's
Yeah.
like he is prepared to spend his political career in purgatory
Yeah.
for as long as Albanese is the prime minister.
Yeah.
And his views, I mean, his views are abhorrent. Like, anyone that says to me, there's genocide in Gaza, I just say, what do you mean by genocide? No one can ever answer that
In
question,
fairness,
by
like
the way.
obviously we think it's horrific to say that, but there's lots of people who say it. Like Ed
There's
Husic's
tons
hardly
of
the only
people
people
who say,
say.
yeah, but that's why I say, like, I mean, I'll just get anyone on this show, and when they say that, I just say, what do you mean by genocide?
Yeah.
The argument falls down instantly at
Yeah.
that point in time. But not only that, like this guy, my bigger issue is this. This country has got a lot of problems, you might have noticed. It might be about to achieve the impossible, which is going into a recession when the rest of the world is not in recession. So we've got big problems in this country, housing problems, etc. And Ed Husic at a Labor conference is trying to make the entire debate in Australia about a war in the Middle East that most people couldn't care less about.
Well, technically it's kind of finished as well. Like, I don't you can argue that conditions in Gaza aren't amazing, but it's largely back to what it was pre-conflict,
and he's got
which was started, of course, by Hamas in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. Like, we all know the truth about that war, and we know the Israeli government's terrible, but doesn't change the truth about the facts. And so the bottom line is this guy cares about nothing else, it seems. Nothing. Like, all this stuff he used to care about with industry and tech, he doesn't care about. No other war in the world, doesn't care about any other war in the world.
Doesn't seem to care about the people in Iran who are being murdered by the
Couldn't
brutal...
care less, right? Or doesn't care about the Labor Party.
Yeah.
All he cares about is this one issue and vengeance. And so I would just want to say I could not have been happier that he got shut down, notwithstanding the fact that the resolution the Labor Party passed was appalling. But it is kind of interesting and fun to watch a political party get shredded by a virus from the inside, which is what's going on here.
Well, speaking of which, the same time that was happening, and we're recording this on Monday, so sort of...
I want to say one thing, sorry. And we can say Moira Deeming is doing a pretty good job of shredding a party from the
No,
inside.
I think she's now irrelevant.
Well, she's now,
gone, so,
but
yeah.
she was for a while.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was pulling that party apart from the inside. It's the same thing. It's just the Labor Party's more like the Labor Party has got better training at how to destroy each other, and so when they want to shred from the inside, like they cause some real damage.
Well, Tony
you
Abbott
know?
was pretty good when he took down Turnbull in 2008. So the Liberals have done all right. And Scott Morrison when he took down Turnbull again. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't think it's definitely not... Labor doesn't have a monopoly on that. But while that was all happening at the conference, something else was happening. So it looks like the downfall of Jacinta Allan is imminent.
Do you think it is?
Well, we're recording this on Monday. The papers are saying that's going to happen in the next 24 hours. So this episode will drop 18 hours after we record this, or less than that. But it's not looking great for Jacinta. I'm actually in two minds. As much as I despise both Allan and Dan Andrews, I'm not sure. I kind of want her to be massacred.
I
pardon the pun,
totally
at an
agree.
election. I don't
Someone
want to,
needs to pay a price.
absolutely. And I quite like Ben Carroll, so I don't want to. Like, I want this government gone, like whoever's leading it. And I like Steve, and there's lots of people in the government I actually quite like. But this government needs to go because there's too much bad luggage.
Totally agree.
You've got an SRL, which is 35 billion. Forget the 15 billion ways. This is literally burning 35 billion for a train line literally nobody wants as an excuses for a housing policy. And interesting, during the conference, you had sort of multiple facts. So Jacinta Allan's part of the left faction in the Labor Party.
Yeah, I don't think
Victoria.
anybody would have found that hard to guess.
Yeah, but you had even people from the left faction sort of having gone. They basically said,
Elbow tore her arms off, basically, metaphorically speaking, apparently.
well, we had Chris Minns and obviously Peter Malinauskas, the South Australian, who was apparently walking around like a rock star, they were saying. So Malinauskas is walking around like he's the second coming of Jesus. You've got...
Why? Because he's a Labor leader that has moved to centre-left.
He's a classic centrist.
Yeah.
And then you got Chris Minns, who's very popular. And you got Jacinta Allan, who's like the devil reincarnate coming out of Victoria. And you say, as much as I think Dan Andrews should be in prison for the rest of his life for crimes against humanity, he was a singular politician. And part of the tragedy of Dan Andrews, as much as we love Malley in South Australia, he's actually selling good policies. So it's actually pretty easy to sell smart policies. But Dan Andrews was able to sell the longest lockdowns in Australia. He was able to sell locking up people in their housing commission like a jail for a week. Imagine that. Imagine being in a tiny little housing commission and being in prison for a week.
What you mean is it wasn't him alone. It still is a democracy, and it still is a party.
No, but he ran it like autocracy.
But people in the party still went along with it. Like
But
they didn't block him.
as Hitler's henchmen went along with him.
Well,
but
it's not a great comparison. Like basically, this guy, like we agree he did terrible things, and the party should not have gone along with it. And someone
but
needs
a lot of people disagreed, and they were shoved. They were cast aside, and people we know were cast aside, from that party.
That's true.
So he was. But my point is and this is somewhat of a backhanded compliment to Dan Andrews. He was a singularly brilliant politician to be able to do all that stuff so horrifically and get re-elected in a landslide in 2022. That was and Jacinta Allan just call it an average politician. I don't think she's the worst.
Yeah,
she's just average. And she couldn't the fact that she's being so massacred in the polls just shows how good Andrews was at what he did. He was just he was the worst person at the worst time for the Victorian people, but an incredibly effective communicator and probably the best politician in terms of retail politicians I've ever seen in my life.
And you had to manipulate social media, and so built a fan club basically on social media. I would say this. I mean, again, who knows what's going to happen if it's tomorrow or whatever it is. But my advice to Ben Carroll, who has some chance he's listening to the podcast, is don't go down with this ship. Like, this was not really your mess that was created. It's hard to see how the Labor Party ends up in power after the Victorian election, hopefully, but it's hard.
The One Nation thing is really uncertain.
Well,
because who knows how those preferences go?
Well, I do. They're not going to the Labor Party. They're not going to the Labor Party. And, I thought about this quite carefully. I don't know if you followed what happened in the Netherlands a few years ago, but their far-right candidate, Geert Wilders, he received the greatest number of votes and I think seats. But he ended up forming a coalition government with the right-wing party in power, because I think everyone knew...
As in further right than him, or
no,
less
right than him? Because I think that everyone knew if he was going to take the prime ministership, there was no chance of re-election.
Yeah.
And my view is, even if One Nation gets more votes and seats than the coalition, the Liberal Party, it'll still be a Liberal premier. Because everyone kind of understands.
Yeah. Well, they don't have candidates in Victoria. The election's in 4 months.
Even federally, the Liberal Party cannot support government where they're letting One Nation govern as Prime Minister or Premier. They can't. That'll be the end of their party, right?
Yeah.
It would be like the Labor Party supporting a Green Premier. It's the end of the Labor Party. So that's why I think, basically it seems that the right, Victoria's not very right, but the right is going to get votes.
Yeah.
And it would be a shame for Ben Carroll to incinerate his chances of future leadership and future premiership by going down now, would be my guess.
Challenge with
I don't think he's going to do it.
Let's say it is a Ben Carroll. Let's say Carroll is appointed leader. The real challenge is, you've got to disavow so much of the core policies of what his two predecessors have done. And in the space of 2 months, I just don't know how anybody can do it. Just speaking of how bad Victoria's going, I'm not sure you saw last week, the Australian unemployment rate held steady at 4.4% last month, which is pretty incredible. And that happened while participation rocketed by 76,000, which is, I think, the share of the adult population looking for work is up to 67%, which is very high. It usually hovers around the 64, 65. So we've got record low unemployment, basically, record high participation. And that's a massively good news story for everywhere, but where do you reckon was the exception to this?
Well, my recollection is that the Victorian unemployment rate rose to 5.1%.
Your recollection is very accurate. So whilst the unemployment rate, obviously in the rest of Victoria, the rest of the country is dropping, Victoria's been an absolute disaster. So this is this is clearly the Dan Andrews, Jacinta Allan governments. This is what happens when you run. People think
A state into the ground
Well,
might be
there's-
the end of that sentence.
there's the state into the ground, but there's the fact that you've got masquerading as worker-friendly policy. The work-from-home one's a classic example about to
Yeah.
come in, but they pretend, we're going to be good for workers, we're going to let you work 2 days from home. That's the most anti-worker policy you can ever have, because people stop hiring in Victoria. Like, I'm not hiring in Victoria, I'm going to hire over New South Wales or Victoria if this comes in, because it's just a better place to employ
we
people.
can just say this: no one, without a single exception, who works in a high-vis outfit can work from home.
Yeah.
So it can't be the party of those people because they can't work from home.
Or
you can't
teachers, or nurses, or
that's
doctors,
right.
or taxi
That's
drivers, not just
right.
builders.
That's
It's
right.
it's the contingency
you
of the Labor
can't
Party.
even hold the stop slow sign from home.
Yeah.
Can't even do that from home. Like there is, so you can't do that from. I'll tell you something interesting about unemployment. The jump in employment. I looked into this a bit. So, there's a difference between supply-led and demand-led employment growth. And so demand-led employment growth means employers really want to need more workers, and they're fighting to get more workers to work. And generally you get wage inflation with demand-led employment growth. But the consensus seems to be this is supply-led employment growth, which just means there actually are more open
Immigrants,
jobs.
essentially.
Yeah, and there are just more people looking for work,
Yep.
and they just got vacuumed up by the system because there was demand for them. But that shouldn't drive inflation.
Yep.
And so if we see continued inflation growth, it would be really wrong to blame
Immigration.
immigration for that, or this part of the economy, like the increasing number of jobs, because this is basically jobs that are being filled without having to pay more for workers. I think that's an important point. It's often missed about
We talk about this a lot.
unemployment.
Immigration essentially is disinflationary because it increases the supply of labour. So we can understand why many in the Labor Party don't want this, because they want to be paid more. But ultimately, certainly as business owners and as anyone who cares about inflation, you want immigration to a point, which is
good immigration.
Yeah, skilled immigration, essentially. People who will contribute to the labour force and push the economy
And
forward.
believe in the values of your country.
Absolutely.
I would add to that. I just want to read this headline from the
Just
Federal
before
Review
you do
finish-
that. So just before
to
you do
finish your
that. Okay.
Jacinta Allan.
Okay, so go on.
Let me just read. So the Financial Review, not exactly a far-right paper.
No.
Their headline and subhead on this: Allan's latest policy alienates despairing business community, but the subhead is even more powerful. A senior government source said said Premier Jacinta Allan and her advisors have concluded that conflict with business wins them electoral support. I mean, can you imagine something more cynical than a politician seeking to win votes by destroying the economy of her own state?
Well, this is hardly news. This has been Labor policy for 5 years.
It's just terrible. And by the way, the fact that a senior government advisor said that means they're trying to bring down Jacinta Allan.
Absolutely. Well, and then there's a lot of people who realise that the Labor Party, that Allan Andrews government, especially Allan, have jumped the shark completely. Like if you look at EY economist Chantal Murphy also said that Victoria has the highest underemployment rate as well at 7.3%. So not only have we got the highest unemployment rate, there's also a lot of people who want jobs who aren't even in the labour market anymore because they've just given up. So it's pain on pain here. This is what happens when you have a government. You see it with Mandami in New York as well. You see the policy they've got these masquerading as renter-friendly policies where basically they're making. So if you're a landlord in New York, you can't do background checks on renters, so you don't know the quality of renters. You can't boot them out when they're in. So so what a lot of landlords are doing in New York is simply just leaving their properties empty. And what does that do? That skyrockets the price of rent because
It's not great for
it takes supply out of the market.
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same. So you got these far left governments masquerading as having policies that help the people, inverted commas, but actually just make it worse for people.
Yeah, I completely am with you on that.
Do you want a quiz?
Yes.
So I've got I've just asked Adir, I said, do you want a quiz? This is off camera. And Mike's on, I want a quiz. So I saw this on Twitter. I thought this was a pretty fun quiz. Mike might actually struggle a bit because this is a quiz from highest earning celebrities in 1998, and I'm not sure you were even born then, Mike. So,
1998.
Yes, I was.
I wasn't.
Joel
You're
wasn't.
thinking me. I was not born.
Highest earning celebrities in 1998.
so like as in what the celebrities in 1998 earned that year.
I'm just trying to figure out if I accidentally wandered into a time machine. Like,
No, it's a quiz. Obviously, a quiz is not going to.
I can't even remember who was this. Sylvester Stallone. Was
I'm
he
confident.
1998?
Funny enough, a lot of these celebrities are still relatively are still, I would say, current now. Not all of them, but there's how many on this list? There's 50 on the list. I'm not going to go through all.
Across any genre of
It's basically
entertainment.
sport and entertainment and music. So sport, music,
and
entertainment.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Mike,
I'd say
I'll throw
one,
out-
two-
do you think that sport or entertainment is going to be higher? As in sport, I mean, sport is entertainment. But
I'd say
sport
entertainment.
Or movies, you think?
Yeah,
Like
and-
Tom Cruise or something like that?
top?
I
just
wouldn't say
interesting.
Tom Cruise in 98.
Can you please tell
This is-
Adam
this
to
is why
stop
he's
trying
the
to get
king.
involved in this conversation?
I think. Well, can I put someone
Go
out
on,
there?
put it out.
I'll give you a clue.
I'd put Michael Jordan probably top 5.
Very. What do you reckon Michael Jordan is? That's a really good guess.
I don't think players were paid that much in 1998. I could be wrong, but the last 20 years has been massive
Right.
player inflation. But he probably is top 10.
So this would. I suspect this includes endorsements.
Oh, well,
'cause-
then that's a different story.
Yeah, he was number 7. So it's
Okay,
a really good
okay,
guess.
okay.
Interestingly,
I
obviously
said
he's
top
retired now, but
What's that?
I said top 10.
the top five, certainly 4 of the top 5 are still active in their fields as they were back then. Number 1 is number 1 is active as well.
Can I put one out there as well?
Yeah, put one out.
I think Leo DiCaprio was hot off Titanic.
Titanic,
And he's still very active
that's
today.
a great call.
But he wouldn't have been paid. He was still, because Titanic, he
was
was still young. So
He was young.
I don't see Leo on
Are the top
here.
5 actors, all actors?
The top 5 are all involved in the entertainment industry, but I wouldn't say they're all actors. And in
Well,
fact,
you're not talking about executives or something.
no, none of the and none of them none of them.
Oh,
were-
James Cameron?
Yes.
Is
that
he
was-
number
I
1?
give Joel a bit of credit on that to get.
Is he number 1?
He's number 5. James Cameron's
I'm going to throw out a
155 million.
huge
150 million.
swing here.
Do it.
Based on 1998,
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld.
That is a great
That
call.
is. He is literally
'Cause he
Babe
was earning
Ruth.
like-
He's called his shot and he's just knocked
that
it out
number
of
one?
Fenway Park. That is number 1, Jerry
that is a
Seinfeld.
Because
great
he was
call.
on $1 million an episode or more. For
No, this came from syndication. This is when they syndicated Seinfeld in 98. So that was the first,
Gotcha.
which is why Jerry was clearly number 1. Like his earnings would have been like 30 or 40.
That is a great call.
Jerry was 267. So like way above. So you said Michael Jordan was 7, which was right.
Right.
It was 69 million. So Jerry is like,
Because the other
unbelievable that year.
3, Jason Alexander, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and Michael Richards, they did not see a cent of syndication,
No.
from what I
And
understand.
so Leo DiCaprio was number 36, by the
there
way.
you
I've
go.
found him. So he's definitely up there. You're right. The other 3 Seinfeld guys aren't on there. Just note what I've just said, though.
Larry David.
Yes.
Probably on there.
Is he on there?
Larry David, number 2.
Because he gets a
It was him
syndication
and
money.
Jerry shared it,
Yes.
essentially. So Larry was effectively the same, 242. So those 2 are clearly 1 and 2.
Hang on. Is that how much they made in that year?
Because that was they syndicated for $1 billion that year.
I see.
So they got a big hit. They still get that kind of money, but that was the big year for those 2, which is why it was
If you
super
went
interesting.
back to Larry David's like high school class and looked at what they wrote in his yearbook when he
Yeah.
graduated, it would not have been most likely to succeed.
I wouldn't have thought.
It would have been most likely to end up to be a loser, I think. Like, it is amazing that his
Yeah.
whole personality is just built for the right era of entertainment.
Interestingly, most of these people, I'm going through, like a big chunk of them are still active. I'm surprised. This is 28
We're
years
still
ago.
doing this quiz. I thought we were
Yeah.
over.
Is
We're
it also
deep in this quiz.
interesting that it was a TV star, not a movie star?
Yeah. Shows the difference back then. Well, that's it. There's a lot of movie people on here. So who do you think number 3 is?
Are they
And I've given you a clue, entertainment.
movie star?
I can't give you any more clues other than entertainment. And I did say these top 5, none of them are really actors. You say Jerry
Gotcha,
but
gotcha.
Jerry
He's
and
a
Larry
comedian.
weren't wealthy because
Yeah.
they were acting. They were wealthy because of the producing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Who would be a producer? Like,
Doesn't have to be producers.
When did The Matrix
Might
come
be.
out? That was a big
99.
movie.
Matrix that era is...
who was the big? I think Jerry Bruckheimer was a producer earlier.
Yep,
in
Bruckheimer's number 48.
Oh,
But he's
okay.
very low on the list.
Yeah, because I think
But he was
that's-
definitely...
that's already late for him.
Top Gun, it was
98.
86.
Yeah.
Top Gun, him and
Well, don't you
Don
always have
Simpson.
to say Spielberg? You always have to say Spielberg.
Yep, Spielberg number 3.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow.
But he was
'Cause that was,
175.
when was Jurassic Park? Wasn't that
That was
Jurassic Park?
93.
era?
Jurassic Park was 93, but Spielberg had that SD with Geffen and Gary
That's
Katzenberg.
right,
So
that's right.
I can't see. I'm surprised Geffen's not on here actually, because I would have thought he absolutely what it should have been, but I can't see him here. So number 4.
We just kept track. So you got number 1, but I got 2, 3, and 7.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
Well, no,
No,
Mike
Mike said- Mike
I know,
said-
but
so-
Mike said it was top 5. That reverts to me.
No, Mike
Harvey
got 7.
Weinstein was probably coming up.
Who was that? sorry?
Harvey
Harvey
Weinstein.
Weinstein was probably coming up.
That's interesting.
He was between niche, I reckon. He's not on here.
Can I throw it just a curveball?
Yep.
Elton John.
He's English, so
Oh, is it American?
No, he's not on.
He's not on there.
He should have been on here. I agree. I don't.
Oh,
must
we
just have.
haven't thought
I don't
about
see any
musicians.
non-Americans
Well,
on
Michael
here.
Jackson still alive in 1990?
Yeah, he died in 09.
Is he on there?
He should be. Where is he?
He died in 09.
Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 2009. I don't see this. For some reason, Michael Jackson's not on here.
And the list is
The credibility.
Yeah, I don't know why he's not on here.
lower the flag.
Yeah, he's not anyway. But the other ones seem pretty legit. Number 4. Can you get number 4?
Can I have is it entertainment still?
Entertainment.
I already forgot who I said for number 3.
Spielberg.
I'll give you a
I
clue.
said Spielberg.
Not
that's right.
an actually was an actress early in their career,
Oh.
but isn't known for being an actress.
Interesting.
May have even won an Academy Award. Certainly nominated for an Academy Award. And is unique in 2 different ways, actually, for being successful.
Okay, it's way too early to be Oprah.
Is it?
Is it Oprah?
Oprah.
Is it Oprah? In 98.
She was
Yeah,
big
she
in
was big
98.
in
Oh, okay.
She was big in 1990. She
Oh,
did the
wow,
Michael
okay.
Jackson interview in 1990.
Wow.
She's
Okay.
so Colour Purple was the movie I think she got nominated for a Best Supporting
Right.
Actress role. So she's number 4.
So then is Dr.
125
Phil on there? Because he was
Nah,
in the
he's not-
leagues.
he's
with
not
Did we
Oprah.
say number 5? Who was number 5?
You haven't got number 5. Oh, no, you got number 5. James Cameron. Someone got that.
Oh,
Is
so
that
we
John?
got the
Well, I
top
think about,
5.
because, I don't really do entertainment, but now I think about this top 5 list. So 1 and 2, definitely, I was very exposed to that entertainment. That's comedy. I'm always in for comedy.
Yeah.
3, Spielberg, you can't avoid,
Yeah.
basically.
Yep.
Also, he was making Michael Crichton books into movies.
Yep.
I'm going to watch those. And then 4, I don't think I really had.
Oprah. But everyone knew Oprah. Everyone knows Oprah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I didn't consume her. Like, I wasn't a consumer. And then 5, James Cameron, I think, is another one you can't avoid, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel, this is unusual because, like, usually.
And number 7,
entertainment-
Michael Jordan, obviously.
Yeah.
So number
6.
6. Number 6 is still active and was recently active, but you wouldn't think of, and it was big back then. Think of people who were big back then across multiple mediums.
Still entertainment?
Absolute entertainment and across TV and movies.
Okay.
You can't Google.
And-
No, I'm just seeing when someone died.
And he's not
Okay.
dead. And the
They're
clue,
still alive, okay.
there's very few dead people here, and Adir may have mentioned one of the dead people recently. Really? Yep.
Recently,
in fact,
as
very
in
few
today
people-
or on the podcast
This person
recently?
died about 17 years ago or 16 years ago, but Adir very recently mentioned them as part of this conversation.
This number 6 person.
No, this is number 8 you just mentioned.
Oh.
Number 6 is the one who was very popular back then across TV
There is
and
nothing
movies.
I remember less than content I've spoken about on this
In
podcast
the last 10
previously.
45 seconds ago, which you've forgotten. I'm asking from 28 years ago. You can't get 45 seconds ago.
Come on. My brain has switched
Literally,
off
we
now.
mentioned this person's name 45 seconds ago.
Did I?
Who was big in the 90s across, this person was big across
Tom Cruise.
movies,
Alive. Yeah.
TV,
Yeah.
and books. Who was big across all
Michael
3?
Crichton.
Michael Crichton.
Oh, I said, you should have given me that. I have to say it twice.
What was, and do you know who was big at in all 3? Do you know, obviously the book is pretty obvious. It was a number of books, but what was the big books he'd written?
So
He wrote Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
Disclosure,
Yeah.
both movies. Obviously, what was the
Even
TV show?
By the way, even ER,
ER.
even Andromeda Strain was made into
Yep.
a movie. He had a,
He was amazing. Yeah.
He's, in fact, I don't want to bore people because it's not an entertainment podcast, but you should look at his views on Jurassic Park. Most authors complain bitterly
Yep.
about what he's done to their movies. He just had this amazing attitude, which is once you buy this to make a movie,
Yeah.
that's yours to do what you want with the script.
I thought he did a good job with Jurassic Park, actually.
Well, Jurassic Park was like this seminal movie because it was the first CGI movie
Yes.
where people's minds were blown,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah.
I still
thought-
love. So that was number 8.
He was a very good
So
author.
can you get back
Number
to
6.
Number 6.
It's a male?
Male across TV. He had the number 1 TV show, and he had
Jerry Springer. Oh,
Jerry Springer. I mean,
Jerry Springer on the list.
that would have been. I think it was earlier than '98. Jerry
okay.
Springer.
No, he was around there, but Jerry Springer's on the list.
What a male that had the number 1 TV show.
Yes.
Would have been like
oh,
Letterman
no.
or something.
Oh,
None of these shows number 1 TV.
Oh.
It was 11 o'clock at
Hang
night.
on, hang on.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Groening. Simpsons.
Simpsons. No, Simpsons never number 1.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say Friends, but it's too many.
Too
I think
early
Matt
as
Groening's
well.
on there. A friend that Bright,
Ross?
Kaufman, and Crane, who produced Friends, they're on there at number 32. But Friends was only 4 years old then, so it hadn't syndicated yet.
Who is this number 6?
He's big on syndication.
I gave you a big clue, as
likes
in he was in a
syndication.
movie. His voice was in a movie in the last month.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is on there, but that's not what I'm saying. Tom Hanks is number.
His voice was in a movie. Oh, no. It
Tom
can't.
Hanks is number 27 at 44 million.
Joel,
This is-
you're a movie guy.
This is all still too early for The Rock.
Big
the Rock
TV
is like
show,
2010s.
not The Rock.
He's 2010s, right?
Yeah, he's a wrestler. He wasn't even wrestling then. Big TV show, big movie, recently in a movie. I can understand why you don't know him.
voice in a movie.
Because he's
So
really,
does that mean
he's
Toy
really
Story
fought.
5?
And I'll give you another clue. He had a criminal conviction, a low-level criminal conviction.
Oh, God. That could be lots of celebrities.
Low level.
Okay, I'm going to say one, but it's not Matthew Broderick, right? That's way
What was he
too-
convicted for?
I thought he was
like a
convicted
DUI
for like
or
a
something.
DUI.
Besmirched one of the great men of
No,
Ferris
I'm
Bueller.
pretty sure he.
No.
Someone
He-
can Google this.
Matthew Broderick's never had a conviction.
For Matthew Broderick,
think he
we'll put Mike's legal details in the show notes
If,
for
if Matthew-
the lawsuit.
If Matthew Broderick's people want to contact us, we'll give them
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
No,
What is it? Come
I
on,
got a
spit it
fault.
out.
Tim Allen.
Well, I went Tom Hanks
Home
because Toy
Improvement.
Story.
Yeah, Toy
was-
Story. You're
yeah,
so
I went to Toy
close. You're
Story.
knocking on the door.
Oh, okay, yes.
Can you get number 9? I'm not going to go through the whole list, obviously. Number 9.
God, are we
he's
still
a big,
going?
big-time Hollywood celebrity. Probably he's had. I think this guy's had billion-dollar movies in the 80s, 90s, and noughts, and probably teens
As the star of the movie.
as the star. I think possibly the highest-grossing star of all time, if you add up all his movies.
Really?
Probably my favourite actor.
Jack
Adam
Nicholson?
Sandler?
Adam Sandler.
No, but Adam Sandler has made a
He's
lot of money.
he's loaded.
That's true.
But
He's
that
made
was- that was
he
very
is- he has made a lot
What
of money.
big mo- he wasn't in Avatar. He wasn't on Titanic. What
No,
big
no,
movie?
I
Have you
reckon
seen
it's
Star
It's
Wars?
not
movies?
impossible that Adam Sandler's a billionaire. He
I'm
might
pretty
not be
sure he
far
is.
off
Because he's a
it.
producer as well, but he's not.
Yeah.
His movies.
Why
are
is he not on your
I
list?
love
only
the
when
wedding
grown-
Go
singer.
find him on your list.
Wedding Singer had
Why
just
is he
come out.
not on
in
your
98.
list?
I
It's
love
only
Wedding
when
Singer, but
grown-ups
that's
came around that the big money.
I don't want to
started
make the
coming.
Howard
anti-Semitism
Stern's on the list,
accusation,
funny enough,
but
speaking
of
where's
Singer.
he on your list?
He's not on there because he wasn't that
Sandler?
good.
It doesn't matter how good you think he is. He has.
No, I like him, but he wasn't that big. Is more my
I
point.
think he was big.
Can you get?
What I said, Jack Nicholson. Is that the wrong guy?
You think it was on here? No, he's not on here.
Maybe he doesn't get paid that much. This is a massive actor
Yeah.
who was in top movies in all
Yeah,
three.
he's massive. Like he's probably the biggest movie star of our generations.
Oh,
James Earl Jones?
I love James Earl Jones, but no, it's not him.
That is a ridiculous guess.
No, he's be
What was, what was his fortune from being the voice of CNN?
Darth Vader.
Oh, come
you-
on.
but you're not-
That's not much money.
And he was also coming to America was
That
a
was
seminal
great.
classic.
I know, but he's not getting paid $1 billion for that.
you're not talking about
Did
like
you
a
watch
Marlon
Sneakers?
Brando.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I watched it.
It's not Brando.
No,
you're
Brando
talking
was screwed by then.
Yeah.
No, I've.
Harrison Ford.
There's
no.
heaps of people here who are just still day-to-day names.
Yeah, Harrison Ford?
Harrison Ford.
Well,
Got it.
Well, how come I said it?
Adir said it.
You know
I just
what?
like
This is the problem with these quizzes. That even when I get
Adam
it right,
stops listening.
he doesn't even listen to me.
I was like deaf in my left ear. Can't hear what I did say.
All right.
But no,
Thank
that
God
was
that's
the
over.
biggest movie. And
Wow.
there's a bunch of there's a few bands on here. Can you name the bands?
Nirvana were big around then.
He was dead, but Kurt Cobain was dead by
Given
then.
that Michael Jackson's not on this list, I've got no confidence in these bands.
There's one guy who's had a few issues lately. Can you go? I think the guy's had a few issues of late.
Donald Trump?
Much worse than that. Donald Trump's president. He's done all right. Like,
Is he on the list?
he wasn't entertainer back then.
I suspect he was.
Who's had,
A musician?
musicians had a few issues of late.
A musician that's had a few issues.
Yeah,
Pink Floyd has a lot of issues.
not with is Jewish people. I'm talking as generally has issues. Like, as in, currently in jail.
They all have issues.
In jail?
Solo
They
artist?
periodically.
Pretty much. Producer originally. He was in here as a producer. I'm shocked he was this high back then because he was really young at this
I
point.
have no idea.
Nah, no idea.
Puff Daddy.
Oh.
But
Why is
Pete
he
Diddy.
so rich?
He was a producer back then.
Oh.
You've got Garth Brooks, number 15.
Garth Brooks, he's been around for a while.
There's a guy who did cartoons. Who's the number? You said Matt Groening. Well, not right, but there's another guy.
Who did cartoons?
Cartoonist. Like
No,
similar-
everything I say, I feel like I'm gonna
you
sound
knocked on the
stupid.
door. You knocked
You
on the door
know,
with
you said
Groening.
Jerry Seinfeld. That was
That
the
was-
call.
you got the
That
big
was
one.
the call of the century.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got the big one.
Who did Family Guy and all that? The Seth MacFarlane?
No, it wouldn't be him if Matt
You're
Groening
very
wasn't.
close. You're really close.
South Park wasn't big back then.
No.
Wasn't South Park on here, but
It
you're
can't
knocking
be
on the
like
door.
the Peanuts guy.
I don't know.
Charles,
Who that even, I don't know.
Oh,
who that
Charles
even is.
Schultz.
Charles
I think
Schultz
you're
not
maybe
here.
30 years too late on
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah. I'll put you. Mike Judge.
I don't
Oh,
know
he
who
did
that-
King of the Hill and
King of the
stuff.
Hill.
Yeah,
Did
yeah,
he?
yeah.
King of the Hill, was that big?
Spice Girls were on here, 49 million. Paul Reiner and Helen Hunt were both on here for Mad About You. John Travolta, Drew Carey, Ted Turner.
Wow.
So no, that's not right. It's
Ted
Bonnie
Turner.
Turner. Bonnie and Terry Turner, whoever that is. Brad Pitt's on here. Kevin Costner's on here. Nicolas Cage is on here. Michael Schumacher on here. Second sportsman. Tiger Woods way back down in 44. So he's just getting
My
going. He's
biggest
pretty young.
surprise, the two biggest surprises I've got from this list. Number one, how long we've spent on it. Number two, that it's heavily. I thought athletes
This
would
is
be
now
much
they would,
more.
for
Yeah,
sure.
but that's. I just kept remembering like '98 was before athletes became kind of the centerpiece of society.
Pre-social media, they didn't own their own.
Yes, you're right.
IP.
And I tell you what doesn't surprise me, it's all men.
Grant Hill was on
there's-
there as well.
There's Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's all men.
Yeah, well, there's a few actresses, but yeah, it was very heavy. I think now you'd see much more balanced
Yeah.
as well.
Partly because of social media.
Absolutely, because if you look at all the Kendall Jenners, they've been incredibly adept at using social media to build brands and build IP, and this
Yeah.
just wasn't. You weren't able to then. So social media, for all its fault has been the great democratization of celebrity wealth has come from social
well,
media.
maybe what you'd say is that people now that have a personal brand are able to monetize it themselves as the owner
Yep.
versus renting it to someone else to
Absolutely.
monetize. That's the big difference.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut back to AI. We haven't spoken about that a bit, and something very interesting.
Kimmy K moment or
What's he?
the
What?
Kimmy K moment or something different
No, well, that's kind of
last week.
yeah, and a bit boring in my
Yeah.
view. Like that, this is just one of these moments where there's an announcement that gets made. Typically, something comes out of China, and people don't really understand it, but they panic. Do you see there were two? So there was a whole like festival in China. That's where that announcement came out of, and the end of
I think that Xi Jinping was at.
and the end of the festival was Chinese robots fighting. Did you see that?
No, I get a bit bored with that because they always like fall over at some point.
Yeah. So what's interesting about it is that that mostly the way they go down is falling over themselves.
Yeah.
Like they basically managed to invent this flying roundhouse kick. And they try it pretty frequently and mostly miss.
It's pretty cool.
What's interesting is when they punch each other or kick each other, they're too stable to go down.
Yeah.
Like they won't go down from a kick. They'll mostly fall over themselves. But the scariest thing is, and I tell you, if you're going to watch something on this video, don't worry about what they do when they knock each other down. Look at how they get back up again. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like they basically just
Like the
spring
Terminator.
back up.
Yeah.
They can never stay down. That's the terrifying part. So there's a company that raised $300 million last week in the US. It's called Etched, Etched. Ever heard of it?
No.
Probably Val might be $3 billion. Just came out of stealth mode.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you what they do because it is a very amazing insight.
Oh, these are the guys who etch onto the GPUs or something like that.
No.
Oh, okay.
But the insight in this is how different AI is going to be in 5 years' time from a commercial point of view compared to where it is today and how hard it is to predict how it's going to play out. So I'll just tell you, this is a company where I'm just going to say what you would never have heard of the people involved in it. I'm just going to tell you one or two things that each of them has done or a few of them have done. So one of the founders, a few of them are Harvard Thiel fellows, which means Peter Thiel paid them to leave Harvard.
Yep. Or leave any university. It doesn't have to be Harvard.
Yep, correct. A few of them were Maths 55 alumni, which is like the hardest maths course at Harvard where everyone basically drops out.
MIT or Harvard?
You could be right. It could be MIT. I thought it was Harvard. But and so the world maths champions, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of that stuff going
Smart
on.
guys, girls.
Yeah, very smart. Okay, this is more interesting. One of them was the co-founder of a business that went to $100 billion and another business that was bought by Crimson Education.
Oh, really?
Bit of a dodgy.
Wonder how they're going,
yeah.
those guys. Well, they're not dodgy. We just question the valuation.
Yeah. One of them was the ex-CTO of another business that was acquired for $10 billion and has shipped 5 systems generating greater than $1 billion in revenue. Now, see if you know what this means. All on A0 silicon. Do you know what A0 silicon
idea
means?
what A0
Do you know what A0 silicon? This is something to look out for. So when you make silicon chips, The first one you make is called A0, and then it's called A1, A2, maybe B1. A0 is the first one you ship, and generally people will expect that it will have some flaws in the architecture, and you'll have to make an A1. And so if you say, I shipped A0 silicon, that means you're so good at chip architecture, you didn't have to make an A1.
Yeah.
You could ship the A0. This guy says, I've shipped 5 systems generating more than $1 billion revenue, all on A0 silicon. That's impressive. Another guy led platform engineering teams across Nvidia and built
How many
the
founders does this thing have?
This is the VP of platform. I'm just reading you some of the background of these guys. Built the HGX and DGX systems from scratch at Nvidia. Just know that's like core platforms. Another guy led 0 to 1 production and supply chain ramps. So that's the first stage for 24 products, including the original iPhone, MacBook Air, Pixel, and Chromebook. That's Another one was on the architecture team at Nvidia of the H100, A100, V100, and won a Qualcomm Research Award. They're pretty good, these guys.
Yeah.
One built the TPU software team version 1 to 5 at Google. So that's the TPU chips at Google. And led research for Project Astra at DeepMind. So this is the kind of nature of these people. What they are building, and the reason they got so much money is this. And this is why I say God knows where this is going to all go. They have built, so the way that AI works is it uses a software architecture called transformers. And when NVIDIA builds one of their chips, the chip is a multi-purpose chip. It can do stuff that uses transformers, but it can do other stuff as well, like make images, which a lot of that is not transformer-based, or do computer vision. And as you know, it has this software called CUDA, which basically helps the chip know how it should be used. But because the chip is trying to work out what it should be doing at all times, like there's some latency, some time that it takes to figure that out. And then you've got like Google is releasing chips like the TPU, which are much better for inference. So that is like answering questions,
Using
not training.
AI, not training
using
AI.
AI. But even that can do lots of different things. So there is some latency.
And Amazon's doing that as well.
And Amazon has an inference chip and they've got Trainium for training. And I forget what the inference chip called. It's probably a similar kind of name. But what these guys have done is something, a next step, which is pretty crazy. They've basically said it's possible to encode the transformer logic onto the chip itself.
Yeah, so I was talking about etching it onto the chip.
Is that what you were meaning?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right. So yes, basically that. But what they're doing is, what it means is all this chip can do is transformer-based calculations, which is a lot of, maybe what we'd call it is anything where you have one token at a time following, which is mostly text-based stuff.
Yeah.
This thing can maybe be 200 times faster than an NVIDIA chip. It can only do that one thing. And one of the challenges is that you have to rewrite the code, like the main code base that it's in.
Well, CUDA's just NVIDIA. So
it's not CUDA. It's called...
Well, it can't be CUDA, it's not NVIDIA.
It's called TensorRT.
Yeah.
It's something that sits alongside that, but it's what you program in. Yeah, it's what like you'd program TPU chips in, so you can't use that. You have to rewrite. So they've just come out of stealth. I think they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. They have a $1 billion order book already done.
Yeah.
What's interesting about them, and you'll remember this from our AI discussions, is obviously who are they going to use to make their chips? There's only one company you can use to make chips. Really?
Not NVIDIA.
NVIDIA uses them as well.
TSMC.
TSMC. But what's interesting is, all of the... So you have to think about where's the backlog in AI? So the backlog is in two places. One of the places. Right? Yeah, memory. So it's hard to get memory. And another backlog is getting access to TSMC. It's especially hard to get access to their 3 nanometer production lines.
Two nanos now?
Well, most of the NVIDIA chips and advanced chips are 3 nanometer, which of course are not 3 nanometers.
Yeah.
It's just a marketing name.
Yeah.
So this is actually made on 4 nanometers.
Yeah.
So less bottleneck.
Yeah.
Guess who 2 of the investors in this Etched company are? If you wanted to get access...
TSMC?
That's one of them.
ASML?
No, because that's upstream. They don't need them. What's the other bottleneck?
Oh, SK Hynix.
Yeah. So they've got a memory investor and they've got... So they're going to be able to get access to chips. And the thing is this. If these start rolling...
They almost become like a subsidiary of those 2 businesses in some ways.
Yeah, I think that guarantees them supply chain, right? And so you have to think about it. No one knows how this is going to play out. But what you now have... So I don't know if you have seen this, but NVIDIA's current share of inference, that means their chips are being used in data centers to actually run AI. Do you know what their current share is estimated to be?
Obviously, not really much in China because they got blocked recently.
It's still amazingly high.
85.
90%.
Yeah.
And so do you know what the forecast is where they'll drop in the next 10 years?
Maybe they go to 80.
So I think it's down to kind of 30.
Oh, is that all they reckon?
Yeah, that's what they think.
That's because Amazon and Google and all that stuff.
And so all of these neo clouds and all of these data centers that are being filled with Nvidia chips. And so the way you should think about this is that the entire industry is basically sitting on the shoulders of a few hyperscalers. All of the money is coming from these hyperscalers who are under pressure to get returns. And so the hyperscalers pay, and then Nvidia gives them some money. These DC data centers or neo clouds, and then they use that money to buy Nvidia stuff and Dell stuff. It's all built on this kind of view that this is what the ecosystem is going to look like, and the hyperscalers are going to keep spending. No one knows what the world would look like if all of a sudden these chips became 200 times more efficient for doing the bulk of the workload, and how that filters through the system. On the plus side...
We speak about Jurassic Park. We spoke about Jurassic Park a few minutes ago. And my favourite line from Jurassic Park, I've talked about it on the pod before, but Jeff Goldblum, he was only like 35 or something at the time. I thought he was really old. He had this immortal line where he goes... We're talking about how could these dinosaurs come back to, how could they do what they did? And he goes, life finds a way.
Yeah.
And I was like, technology finds a way.
Yeah.
When something is so high and Jeff Bezos talks about it with your margins, my opportunity. It's the same thing. Like Nvidia is making so much money that ultimately, which is why the share price is under control and the PE is 30, not 100, is because tech finds a way. That margin is everybody else's opportunity.
And interestingly, TSMC, who has a bigger monopoly and more robust monopoly, they don't price to the marginal customer. They basically say we're going to have a fixed margin. Their gross margin is 50%, not Nvidia's 70-something. And that is one of the ways they keep competitors out of the market. They just don't provide enough margin.
They're long-term greedy, not short-term greedy, those guys.
Exactly. And so you have to think about, if let's say these chips rolled out like an Etched chip and it became so much more efficient. Number one, everyone who stacked their data centers with Nvidia chips, they got problems, right? Number two, it might actually be really good for the models because all of a sudden, effectively Anthropic is struggling to make money because nobody wants to pay the cost of tokens. But all of a sudden, if this was like so much more efficient, suddenly tokens can get a lot cheaper to run.
That's the bet on these things is that unless something like that happens, like OpenAI and Anthropic are dead. So because they're just losing, even Anthropic, which is a much better financial position than OpenAI, almost certainly dies. OpenAI is 100% dead unless something like that happens. So that it feels like all the bets on these, call it the two foundational models, are basically, these two frontier models, are based on something like that, like the input cost dropping. I listen to Ed Citron a lot, and he's fantastic, and he's constantly saying how these guys are basically insolvent. The whole AI boom was rested effectively on OpenAI. Without OpenAI, there would have been no AI boom because remember OpenAI started really cranking in, GPT was 2023, but even before that, and that's what drove NVIDIA. So everything really hinged on this one company that essentially has no business being in business based on current financials.
But then all the hyperscalers. I think the first GPT model was 2020, and then the hyperscalers jumped on. The thing is this that people don't think about. So there's now I don't know if you know this, you might know this, there's something like, it's not very big, there's $40 billion or something, it's still small, there's syndicated asset-based finance on chips. And but it's going to grow dramatically, right? And I suspect...
When you say on chips in data centers? Or I thought it'd be a lot more than that.
Yeah, it's still pretty small.
That doesn't sound right. What about all the private credit?
I think it's just starting to grow
hundreds of billions of dollars in private credit paying for these data centers.
So this is specifically Nvidia's...
Maybe.
Nvidia's lending.
Nvidia. Oh, maybe internal lending.
It's still quite small, okay?
Yeah.
No, this doesn't include...
What about the blue owls and all that garbage?
Well, this is not including bonds issued by companies. So Oracle issues against themselves.
But there's always SPVs as well. That off balance sheet. There's off balance sheet stuff as well.
There are.
It's like Enron. It's literally Enron again, this stuff.
Well, the main difference is, because I thought about this relative to the subprime crisis, and the difference is the marginal borrower in the subprime crisis was the person least able to pay. It was like the subprime borrower, and then they CDO'd it all up, right? Yeah. So they basically packaged it.
Good and
bad. And it made it look like it was diversified.
Yep.
But it wasn't, because it was all junk. If you go and get lots of junk and put it together, it doesn't become less junk just because it's diversified. Whereas this is a good borrower. This is mostly hyperscalers ultimately borrowing. And by the way, I'm not sure if you know this, but Nvidia has contractually backstopped a minimum final sale price of their chips with a lot of these. That means you can lend money to a neo cloud based on what the final price of the chip is going to be when you sell it on the secondhand market. And Nvidia says if it's below X, we will buy it for X. So Nvidia is effectively using their balance sheet to prop up
the whole AI industry, basically.
But if OpenAI goes broke, probably a whole lot of neoclouds collapse.
That's
Because they
the
are the
chain reaction
customer.
that happens, exactly.
And this is what you think about. Then the neoclouds collapse. What happens to all of these chips? So they're going to flood onto the market. Now, there might be enough demand to absorb them.
It's not just the chips, it's what happens to the future chips that aren't needed anymore because you've got all these current chips out there.
And so maybe at the moment there's much more demand for chips than supply, but then you have things like Etched come along and
absolutely.
TPUs. I just think 5 years' time is so unknowable. There's so many...
2 years' time is unknowable. Forget 5 years' time.
It's so hard to pick what's going to happen. And I think this little glimpse into Etched, whether they're the winners or not, it just shows
what can happen.
How the assumptions that people are making about this industry, they're changing every week.
We've talked a lot about the Michael Burry notion, the off-balance sheet stuff. So,
well, he's massively short on this stuff.
And I love Michael Burry, but if you look at all the off-balance sheet stuff, so all the hyperscalers essentially put all their spending, they capitalise their spending essentially, on balance sheet, off P&L. So all the off P&L stuff we've talked about. We talk about this all the time.
Can I say this in a slightly different way and then you continue? So investors seem to be able to stomach capital expenditure, CapEx, on AI that matches the free cash flow of a hyperscaler, but they can't stomach CapEx that's more than the free cash flow. And so the problem is, how do you do CapEx, but it's not CapEx? And the answer is you go to a neo cloud and you say, we're going to buy all of this stuff off you on an ongoing basis and upfront a chunk of the money, and that is operating expenditure, OPEX. It's really CapEx that you're just shifting to OPEX so that it doesn't look too bad in your own financial statements. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
Well, we talk about the whole CapEx thing, how people say, if you look at the overall market, the PE multiple is only 22 for the market, overall not that expensive because it's been at 40. And we've said, well, that's not right because a lot of the expense is actually being capitalized. So it's on the balance sheet but not on the P&L. So we've talked about it a lot. This is everybody knows this. We didn't come up with it, whatever. But there's actually something I hadn't thought of that is so I was reading Bill Bonner, who's one of my favourite writers. He quoted a guy called Charlie Bilello, who basically said, not only there's something else I didn't even think about, but there's also, and this Charlie guy said, in the first quarter, just 3 companies, Google, Nvidia, and Amazon, saw massive gains in other income category from their private investments in companies like SpaceX and Anthropic. The total of $69 billion in other income was 10% of the S&P's overall net income for the quarter. A percent of this boost S&P year-on-year earnings growth would have been 15%, well above the 28%. So talking about, we're not expensive because 28%, huge earnings growth. 28% not only has the CapEx stuff, it's also got the investments, the benefit of the CapEx stuff. So
they're marking that up.
Yeah, so the investments in Anthropic and SpaceX essentially was, and now it's come back down, but at the time it was up. That's based on XAI, which was the whole frontier model.
I'm surprised they can mark that up because the general accounting standard is, unless you're an investment business,
well, they do in the US,
you hold the investment at cost.
They're marking it up.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So we've got double. So there's 2 reasons why these earnings are just a fraud. It reminds me of 2 things. One was the Depression when all these earnings was fake. But we talked about this before, but AOL in 99, 2000 did the Time Warner deal. AOL had real revenue and Time Warner did the deal based on real revenue. Problem is that revenue was all coming from dodgy startups being funded by VC. So the revenue just in 2001, gone. It feels like this could be the same thing again. This is fake. It's real revenue in inverted commas, but it's really fake revenue. It's not actually and real profitability.
It's much more, the capital stack in this boom is much more concentrated than it was in the .com boom. It's basically 3 or 4 hyperscalers and then some Saudis and a few others, and a few big American banks.
And a lot of debt, which they didn't have in the
and a few American banks lending debt, right?
Well, and private credit. That feels like another whole subprime mortgage thing.
But every time someone comes to the market and says, we need to raise $100 billion from AI, there are not many places that you can get there from. It's much more concentrated than the .com boom was.
Because the dollars are so massive.
I mean, I think what you've just described with the markups is like the 2 of us owning a property, and let's say you own 70% and I own 30%, and you want to be worth more. So you say to me, I'll pay 3 times the value for another 5% from you.
Yeah.
And you mark up your whole 75% now to that 3 times the value.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody would
And
tolerate
not only that, the money I'm going to pay you, I'm going to take off my P&L. I'm going to put it on the balance sheet. So I'm not going to put anything on the P&L. So nothing's going to run through anybody's P&L.
So the question is, I've thought a lot about this. Like, how do you financially position for this moment? And the other complication, which I won't go into a lot of detail now, but at some point we'll talk about this, is like quantum computing is coming.
Yeah.
And probably the hyperscalers, especially Google, they'll be a beneficiary of that. They're building hard on that. And so, and how do you position for all of this? And I think like you can't short AI because you're going to go broke waiting. Like it's unknowable when this thing is going to crash, and there are so many vested interests determined to keep this up, and they're rich, and a whole lot of them are the most valuable companies in the world. So you probably go.
When you say you can't short AI, does that mean you can't short Nvidia, or because there's plenty of places that Oracle's shortable, SpaceX is shortable. There's lots of stuff that's shortable.
So Nvidia
not investment
is going to survive a crash. It's hard to see how they wouldn't survive, even if
they've survived a few of these. They've had 80% drawdowns. Consistently over
what's
their
their annual
lifetime.
profit and free cash flow? It's like $100 billion or $200 billion. Like,
but it's all based on this fraud, though. Like,
I
eventually,
know.
this could very quickly unwind.
And so, but even if their cash, even if they started running out of free operating cash pretty quickly, they've got so much cash. Like, it's.
I don't think they go bust.
It's hard to imagine them going.
But they could drop 80% like they have.
They
multiple
could
times.
drop 80%, but and
Let's take
like,
them back to 2024.
they're
levels.
vulnerable, but there are much more vulnerable things. So, you could try to pick individual disasters.
Something like Blue Owl.
Well,
Like
CoreWeave,
it's
I think
private, the private credit, the
Okay.
CoreWeaves, the
No,
Irons.
that's
There's lots of
interesting. So
obvious
you
stuff.
think about the stack, right? So you've got the chip. Well, they're probably not going to go broke, okay?
That's Nvidia's the last thing I'll be short. Even though I think it might go down 80%, I wouldn't.
And
touch
then you've
it.
got data centers. And so the more robust data centers are the ones that actually own something, like power, access to power and water and a physical premises. But the neoclouds, as you said, that really own nothing.
Well, Iron is more the first category.
Iron has
They got a
a
facility
data
in Texas
center
or
in
whatever.
Texas.
Yeah.
And so they could still go to zero. It just means that data center would be an asset they could sell. It doesn't justify their valuation. But CoreWeave has no assets and lots of debt, heavily leveraged. And so you could try to pick them off. You could try to pick off the people that lent to them, which is kind of what
That
you're
to me is the
talking
more
about.
obvious one.
Yeah, and so you say Oracle, but what you really mean is...
No, I think the private credit, Blue Owl's the listed private credit, so that's the really easy one. There's others as well.
You could go and try to short Oracle's credits,
Yep.
like their bonds,
Yep.
if you think they're going to collapse. I think Oracle will find a way to survive.
They've got some really good businesses, Oracle. Obviously,
Yeah.
Oracle itself is a great business. NetSuite's a great business. They've got some actually really good businesses in that business.
But my main issue is this. It's also volatile. The volatility, I was having a look at this on some options. Like the volatility on iron is 30-something%.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the thing fell 25% in a month. And like, these are so volatile. And like, this might stay... I thought this was going to fall to pieces pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it might last another 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to know what to do about this. It's an interesting problem to try to figure out economically from an investment point of view of what to do about this and how to protect yourself while taking advantage of the upside.
I just want to talk quickly on the KPMG saga, which we talked about it a few weeks ago. Somehow this got worse over the weekend with the disgraced Big Four firm sacking recently demoted COO Eileen Hoggett from the firm's partnership after finding she had stored printed copies of confidential Lendlease board documents in her locker, shared them with her colleagues to win audit contracts, and then repeatedly lied about it. Apparently, Allan's uncovered an email from Hoggett who bears an uncanny resemblance to someone from an evil villainess from a Disney movie, where she responded to a request from a colleague to see Lendlease documents by asking her EA to get material out of her locker and share it. The scandal has already claimed the scalps of former CEO Andrew Yates, former chairman Martin Shepard, senior auditors Paul Rogers, Kim Laurie, and Julie McPherson. Amazingly, and this is probably the worst part of it all, Hoggett was able to remain at the firm as a senior audit partner for the past 2 months, despite being specifically named in Parliament as hiding stolen audit documents in her locker and being demoted as COO. The KPMG board actually overruled their legal and HR bosses in allowing Hoggett to remain. Chairman of the board at the time was Martin Shepard. He has since quit in disgrace. Adir, could it be any worse for these guys?
It looks pretty bad. I mean, the thing is this. We look at this and say, how could anybody have ever thought they would get away with this? And I'm going to tell you my view on that. Most people that do terrible things to other people, super dodgy, they get away with it. I've had personal experience on the receiving end of this, right?
Yeah.
Like mostly you can get away with doing terrible stuff. And I just think their view of this was no one is ever going to catch us doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is pervasive in the corporate world. That's my view on this. And every now and again, you hook one of these big fish
Yeah.
and it looks terrible. But what you don't realise is there's tons of this stuff going on below the surface that you'd never even know about.
Lots of other fish.
That's the truth of it.
Yeah. This theme especially, I don't think you can tar every auditor with this brush. This seems to be...
Yeah, I'm not
even within the same firm. Like clearly
not
there's
even picking
most people in KPMG are good people, and this is just these people at the top who you'd expect to be the sort of whiter than white were the worst actors of them all.
So I am not specifically targeting auditors in these comments at all. I think that increasingly over the last, 50 years maybe, let's just even go longer and say the post-war period, like what we've seen is that you can get away with more and more. And like regulators or the law, it's always either, it's a few kicks behind play.
Yeah.
And so I think across the business, like you know a chunk of what goes on. I know a chunk of what goes on. We mostly don't know what goes on.
Yeah.
There is a lot of very nefarious stuff that goes on in the corporate world. And how did they get caught? I mean, how were they? They were unlucky.
Whistleblower.
A whistleblower. That's right. They tried to
sack
suppress the whistleblower.
Yeah.
And so what you see by this pattern of behaviour, in my view, is this terrible stuff happened. There'll be some people that didn't know that this was going on. The first instinct is to say, we'll be able to get away with this.
Yeah.
That's the general disposition. I think there's a lot of naivety that goes on when you look at business and you look at markets and you think it's largely clean. That's not my view of it at all. So I'm happy that this was exposed and hopefully it will make some people scared to try to do bad things themselves.
I want to move on. The FT reported this week that Waymo is reportedly looking for a way out of its deal with Uber. We talked about this a few months ago.
So predictable.
Which has made the Alphabet-owned robo taxis available on the ride-hailing giants network in Austin, Atlanta. You say it's predictable, but remember at the time when we argued about it, one of the things I was worried about with Uber was the fact that it had to rely on Waymo. And you said, Waymo needs Uber for its distribution. Clearly, Waymo doesn't feel that way anymore.
I thought they would need them for longer than this.
Yeah.
But we did both say it's Google. So one is they're okay at software.
Pretty good at customer acquisition
and
as well.
And two, they've got some good customer relationships. It felt like everything that Uber had to offer them was going to be transient. I'm just shocked by I'm not shocked. I'm surprised at how quickly...
Yeah.
Well, they haven't done it yet.
Well,
but it was always obvious they were going to try and get onto.
Well, they have done it because Waymo's already told Uber that it tends to stop its using its app in January 2028, and they've already split in Phoenix. So Phoenix has happened, and these other cities are going to happen. So
I have to download a Waymo app in Phoenix if I want to.
Yes.
Order.
Yeah.
My guess is it's got to be integrated into the Google suite.
Absolutely.
Right?
Totally.
So I've got single sign-on. So it's going to be pretty easy.
This actually is happening in the backdrop. I'm not sure if you saw this in TechCrunch, but Waymo and Uber are having a huge policy fight in DC. I'm not sure if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Waymo's backing a bill to allow for the safe deployment of autonomous vehicles, which is the same as what's happening in LA and San Fran and all these places. Uber's arguing that the proposed laws will displace human for hire drivers and hand Waymo a de facto monopoly, which is strange given there's a bunch of other companies doing it.
They're right about the first bit.
Yeah. Uber is lobbying for a system that will require robo-taxis to operate on a ride-hailing network that also uses human drivers. I wonder who that would help.
Yeah.
This would, of course, make Waymo business unable to operate because they don't have human drivers, and Uber would have a monopoly themselves. So this sounds pretty self-serving. Uber, meanwhile, I thought this is the interesting part. So we talk about a lot about Uber because it's such a fascinating business. But Uber, meanwhile, has seen its share price slump down 34% since September. Its recent valuation is only $134 billion. Interestingly, when Dara Khosrowshahi took over Uber in 2017, what do you reckon it was worth back then?
Presumably he's ridden it up pretty heavily because I thought it was like the whole Travis debacle.
He
pushed it
Travis
down
left.
aggressively, right? Like has it gone up?
Well, its last round was 68 billion when Travis was there, and then now it's 134. So in 10 years, it's
doubled.
A bit under.
That's
7% a year,
Yeah.
which is pretty bad for people.
That's a toll road.
Yeah, people say how good's Dara? He's such a great, incredible CEO. But he presents very well for sure.
You're picking a point after which it's fallen 34%.
I have, but we are at this point now, so we have to assume the market's efficient. But
you have to assume the market's efficient.
Well, in a degree, it's efficient.
You're still doing that sales pitch.
What this kind of does prove is that Travis Kalanick and Emil Michaels' claims that Dara Khosrowshahi was doing actually a pretty bad job, but kind of been proven right in hindsight. This really revolves around. Remember, what Travis was really critical of was the whole shutting down the self-driving unit and a lot of Uber's problems hails around this Waymo competition.
So I remember our discussion was which side is going to be commoditized. Maybe both the network.
I was much more
or the
bullish on
hardware.
Waymo, and you're more bullish on Uber.
Maybe this is. I mean, I remember we had talked about this, but maybe this is how my view has kind of evolved with this. Uber's big opportunity and why they were so successful is they were a marketplace where both sides were fragmented. I know we had this discussion, and now it feels like it may not remain the case because like they're dealing with a hyperscaler on one side of the market, definitely not fragmented and the resources to do it themselves. But this is the big question. Again, I just say we're still early in this self-driving stuff. You've got 5 players at the moment.
Yeah.
If there are 25 players or 50 players, then that will still be a fragmented market. And maybe they won't get Waymo, but unless Waymo goes and gets 60% of the market, it won't really matter. And the big question to me is, what's going to happen with all these Chinese self-driving cars being deployed around the world? Whose networks are they going to use? I think that's going to be a big determinant.
So Chinese EVs or Chinese self-driving?
Well,
Chinese EVs.
The Chinese self-driving EVs.
Will they use Uber, you mean?
Yeah, because presumably, there are all these Chinese players. Okay, we know BYD, but there are tons of them.
Yeah.
They're all going to be doing self-driving.
Yeah.
They're probably EVs. And so how they're going to want to deploy into the West. And so how are they going to deploy into the West? They're probably not going to do it all through their own apps. It'll be too fragmented.
No,
And so I think that's the unknown for Uber. How fragmented is that side of the market going to be?
Yeah.
Waymo is their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But there could be other things that are not nightmares.
But my point was it shouldn't have been because Uber could have had their own competitor Waymo. Obviously, they poached the guy out of Waymo, that controversial guy who went to jail briefly.
But do you think that Uber should have ended up being a hardware provider?
I think they should have been doing their own stuff.
How would they have defeated all of these other much more deeply funded?
How did BYD
providers?
go from battery manufacturer to the world's best EV you can do it because you do it.
Then what Uber would be saying ultimately is we're only going to connect you to cars.
Elon Musk doing it with Tesla.
Our cars. I know, but all of those, that seems like a terrible system. That's like
but Waymo aren't the car manufacturer. Waymo just puts the LiDAR on the Jaguars at the moment, and now they're
I know, but just like Tesla used to put their motor inside a Lotus, and now they're the whole car.
I don't think it's the Lotus Tesla. This is much more the Jaguar Waymo analogy, I think.
Maybe, but let's even talk about the automated part. Okay, the automated part of this is not just software, but a lot of it's software. How many of those providers are there going to be? It could be 100. And so, do you want every one of them to have their own app for hailing a car? That would be like waiting at a train station. And unless the train that you're
I agree.
waiting
There definitely won't be. But I think
you can't get on the train.
Uber would control their destiny and wouldn't be beholden to the Waymos or to the Chinese manufacturer or whoever else.
I think Uber should just make deals with Chinese companies. Because that's just going to dominate the market probably.
Just interestingly, if you look at Waymo, talk about Uber's valuation went from 68 billion in 2017 to 134 now. Waymo, what do you reckon Waymo's most recently valued at?
Is it separate to Alphabet?
Alphabet in 2017, 18 or whatever it was, 2020 it started raising separate funds for it. So Alphabet doesn't own 100%. So it's
400 billion.
Its first external funding round was 2020, I should say. Raised earlier this year at a 126 billion valuation.
Okay.
But we think Uber's 134. So think about all Uber's 15 years old with this massive network and all these customers, Uber Eats. And so if you look at Waymo.
But a lot of that Waymo money is people betting on Google.
Yep. But if you look at what do you reckon Waymo was in 2020 when it first raised?
Well, that's why I don't know the answer, but 20 billion.
Yeah, 30. So Waymo's 4x and Uber's hasn't even doubled.
Waymo is a bit of a false valuation.
It was an external valuation. This wasn't.
Well, it's a It's kind of me saying, I'm going to invest in Waymo, and even if it's expensive, it's Alphabet. Like they've got
They'll
all
make
of
it
their
work.
resources to make
Yeah.
it work. It's a bit of an artificial valuation.
I'm not sure it's artificial because this is a genuine. It's run as a standalone entity, I think, within Alphabet. So I don't think it's. I don't think it's a fake valve.
I think Uber can still succeed as a ride-hailing app for autonomous vehicles, even if they don't have Waymo. And my guess is, if they succeed excluding Waymo, Waymo will actually give them the ability to hail Waymos as well. The fight's not over.
I think where the positive is I expect in 5 years' time we're all taking these self-driving cars everywhere, or certainly in 10 years' time. So the market, this is all what happened with Ubers in San Fran when they talked about the TAM being 100 million. Suddenly the TAM in San Fran was $1 billion because people who weren't taking Ubers who weren't taking rideshare, something like that, rideshare, who didn't want to take a taxi preferred an Uber. I think we get the same situation with self-driving. The market becomes just so massive.
I totally agree. But that's why I think we come back to the same discussion we just had with AI. It's very hard to know what this market looks like in 5 years' time. Not because like we're dumb, because there's too many. The way you work out what the likelihood of something succeeding is you take all of the probabilities and you multiply them through, and there are just too many nodes that you have to multiply at the moment to work out what the likely outcome is going to be.
Yeah. On that note, we'll go super quick break back in no time at all. And we're back. And last week, APRA allowed UK fintech giant Revolut to become an authorised deposit-taking institution in Australia. Customers can now get interest on their funds, which are now backstopped as well by the federal government in event of a crisis. Did you know how Revolut generates most of its profitability?
No.
I had no idea.
Every bank that I've ever heard of generates most of their profitability by lending out the
Like
money
interest
for their
rate
deposits.
spread, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's not how Revolut makes its money. If it was, I wouldn't have asked you the question,
Yeah.
obviously. So Revolut, essentially a subscription business, which I had no idea about. So it had subscription revenue of almost $1 billion, up 67%.
But hang on, you call it... I feel like everything old is new again. You call this a subscription
You're gonna call it
business.
fees, right?
Don't I call it bank fees?
Yeah, they used to.
Banks have spent 25 years getting rid of bank fees, and now
these
you've
guys
just
brought it
gone
back.
and
Yeah.
given a new name to it
Rebranded.
and bring it back.
Yeah, you're right. And this is what was said in the article. But there is a slight nuance on that. So Revolut has 4 plans, $6, $12, $29, $100 a month. The higher cost plans come up with benefits like fee-free trading, insurance, credit for gym visits, free withdrawals, access to kids' accounts, airport lounges. So it's a bit more like Amex.
I am completely unconvinced. People used to cry about $2 a month bank fees, and Revolut has said, I can get $100 a month, and people are going to be happy to pay
the
it.
Hermes of banks.
It's unbelievable. Everything that you just said was totally unpersuasive. That's a bank fee.
So Revolut Australia boss Matt Blacksby said, we have a diversified business model that is different to other banks. He disagrees with the idea. We're not solely...
I agree with him. No other bank can charge bank fees. You can. It is different to other banks.
We're not solely reliant on lending. It's pretty leveraged to activity. We have diverse income streams, and subscriptions are an element of that. Last year, 16 million customers joined Revolut globally. Then they've got 75 million customers.
I'm with NAB, okay? Predominantly. And you know what my fees are? 0.
Yeah.
And do you know how many transactions I can do for free in that account?
A lot.
Infinite.
Yeah.
And so there you go. I get
Do you get gym memberships?
Do I get gym membership? No. You know what? They don't pay for my gym membership. So, and my gym membership does cost more than $100 a month.
There you go.
So, but I doubt they'd be paying for that because they probably would be losing money.
Getting you in a tank top on their advertising would be
no
incredible.
Tank tops, no tank tops permitted in the gym that I go to.
Oh, yeah, Keezer, of course, which doesn't allow tank tops. Meanwhile, last week ANZ scaled back the sign-up perks on its popular frequent flyer cards, while NAB overhauled its white label cards with higher interest rates, annual fees, and reducing earn and burn. Other big lenders are rethinking their rewards and card offerings as the appalling RBA prepares to slash merchant fees.
So basically we're entering an era where bank fees are coming back because Revolut's called them subscription, and every other bank has been forced now to charge bank fees by these
On the credit cards.
unnecessarily RBA changes.
Yeah.
And so it's the return of the bank fee era.
So well done RBA for putting bank fees back on everybody.
It's
Thanks
just
for that.
crazy.
Revolut is actually one of the world's
And high interest rates. So
Yeah,
the RBA
exactly.
change
Yeah.
has given us these 3 benefits. Fewer points, high interest rates, and bank fees.
and probably higher annual costs as well on top of the fees.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
Revolut is one of the world's most valuable tech unicorns. It was valued at 115 billion US last week, up from 75 last year. This is on fire, this thing. It's Europe's most valuable startup. Revolut's founder and CEO, Nick Storonsky has a 29% stake in the business, giving him a net worth of US $33 billion, making him Britain's 5th richest person. Who knows there are that many rich people in the UK. So the business has had unbelievable metrics. It's just as high level. Number of business customers increased 33% last year. Revenue was up 46% and profit was up 57% to 1.7 billion
What was the
pounds.
pitch deck? We're going to become a $100 billion business by charging bank fees.
It's unbelievable. It's actually incredible. As you said, they've taken a model that was hated, made it sexy, and have built a $116 billion business.
they
And obviously, there's great UX and great UI and all
They
that.
must still lend. I mean, if they're getting
Yeah,
deposits,
no,
they've
absolutely.
got to lend them.
Presumably they are a lender as well. I've never used it, but it sounds like they're just a really. And we saw Upbank, a much smaller version in Australia. They sold to Bendigo eventually,
Yeah,
but
but that was mostly a tech.
yeah, I think Revolut's just a bigger version of that. I think it's really great UX.
Well, but if they're this big, they know how to run a bank.
Yeah.
Like they operate.
Clearly.
Whereas I think Up was just Bendigo and Adelaide partnership, wasn't it? They were running the bank and Up was a tech layer, wasn't
Up was
it?
the tech UX layer.
Yeah, but whereas this is a whole bank. They
Yeah,
got a
no,
license.
absolutely. Yeah.
So this is impressive. And what it goes to show is, like, it doesn't matter what exists in the world. Ultimately, there are just some ways to make money. And one of them is banking, retail banking. It's just one of the ways to make money in the world. And they've just figured out it's good to charge bank fees. And I don't know why all these idiot other banks didn't charge bank fees and just call them subscription fees.
Well, I think it's what you talk about as well as the best place to make money is go near a really big torrent of cash and
That's
just
right.
stand next to it and just start getting a little bit of it.
Take a thimble
Take
or a
little
bucket if you're
thimble.
greedy.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting point. And Revolut doesn't seem that revolutionary. They said they're charging effectively a different model for
So
offering
the
the
flip
same
side
thing.
would be, so one of the things they provide unlimited is some kind of trading, you said, right?
Yeah, and
for the
$100.
$100.
I've never used them, so,
So,
this is from the
they
articles.
might be also a
Bit of a
part
Robin
of a
Hood.
Costco model.
Yep.
which
Oh, absolutely,
is
Costco model.
We're going to make the transactions really, really cheap. Maybe their spreads on foreign exchange are super tight.
Yeah.
In return, you pay the $100. We're not really trying to make money
You
off
can
you
get
on
that
the
for free
spreads.
from Wise. Like Wise don't charge anything for bank fee for international transfers.
No, but the spread of the but the
No,
foreign
no
exchange.
spread.
The foreign exchange spread.
Not on Wise. Wise has like virtually no spread.
Well, there's always a price of a foreign currency.
There's a little bit, but it's virtually zero, like a few bips.
So what do they make their money out of? Volume,
Volume.
right? Yeah,
And
interesting.
they got the beauty. Then Wise is you dump a bunch of money in Wise, they got the float, so they feel like an
They
insurance
pay
company.
interest or no interest?
No interest. It's, You just give them the money.
I see. Okay.
And I've got like $1,000 in there because when I'm traveling, I don't want to keep putting money in there. So
So
it's
there's
a great
all these
model.
alternative models. Why do you think APRA, who obviously is the bank regulator, do you think they were happy that there was another bank competitor that came in from the UK and got a license or not?
Well, APRA gave them the
Well,
license.
you can't not give it. If you tick the boxes, you get a license. But
Yeah.
do you think, because this country is very focused on protecting the oligopoly of the four major banks,
Or every oligopoly, we have oligopolies across
but
the whole
there is a policy reason that they're trying to protect. You can agree or disagree, but it's these four pillars, which means we're going to have a more stable banking system than other countries. And so how do you think they feel? Do you think they feel Revolut, yeah, it's good, it looks like competition, but they'll actually never be like as big as the big four? Or how do you
I'm
think?
not sure they have a view really. Like we've had lots of banks come and go through the years. I'm not like, and the go bit is not good for customers in any way.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure Apple were overly joyed by it, but I don't think they were overly. I don't think they have a view.
Yeah.
I think as a customer, having more options is great. Whether you use this $100 per month or
Do you think
$6
there's
per month
any
thing.
chance that Revolut could get to the size of a big four in Australia?
Well, the issue I have with the Big Four, and I've always had with the Big Four, and I'm actually speaking at CB8 tomorrow, so I probably won't mention it when I'm there, but they've effectively been lending on this massive property Ponzi scheme. It has now been unwound. We hated the Jim Chalmers budget,
Unwound rapidly.
but I don't think it should be. I saw a great video I sent you guys on that was on Instagram. It was just a really smart real estate agent who said 6 auctions he had on the weekend, didn't have a single. Not only didn't he didn't, not that he didn't sell any. That is not great, but whatever. Not only did not sell any, he didn't have a single registered bidder. So he didn't even have a bidder.
you
Didn't
could
even have a
say
bid.
not only did he not sell any, not only did he get no bids, but he couldn't have gotten any bids because nobody registered to bid.
This is crazy. And he made the really good point where the biggest falls have come is the high end of the market and the mid end of the market, which clearly were overpriced. But where the whole Jim Chalmers intergenerational theft budget, where the benefit was meant to come was we're going to make first homes cheaper for people. What's the only place in the housing market that's gone up? First homes. As we said they would at the time. Like you didn't need to be a rocket science to work this out.
So this country, because just to deviate to that slightly, I thought that video was great. I know why you liked that video, because it was an 11-minute intelligent rant.
Yeah.
That's right up your alley,
Love a
right?
rant.
And so, but it was
We'll chuck this in the show notes. Michael
but it
will
was
chuck
a
this in.
smart rant. The guy was smart.
Very smart.
I thought
Yeah.
one of the funniest comments I've heard about this budget is he said, Jim Chalmers did his PhD on Paul Keating.
Yeah.
I don't know what mark he got, but he's managed to create a housing system where every part of the market's fallen except the one that he was trying to get to move down,
So
which
good.
is true, right? The first home buyers
everything this
hasn't
guy said
moved.
was true.
But we have to say this, the Big Four, this country now is far more exposed to a rise in unemployment, because if there's a rise in unemployment and people can't service their loans, the value of the property, the asset that the bank holds, is now diminished. And so, that's a problematic situation. The biggest point this guy made is a point we made on this podcast 2 months ago, which is 15% of the country's economy is linked to property transactions, and it's throttled property transactions. But if unemployment rises and people can't service their loans and banks say, well, we need to get our money back, so we're going to flog your property. Number one, it's worth less.
There's no buyers, which is the real problem.
Yeah, number two, there's no buyers. There's no buyers. And so this country has just massively increased its risk exposure to rising unemployment.
And to make matters worse, the worst area is the first home, is in terms of the people who are most exposed with the least amount of equity, the most amount of debt, is these first home buyers. And yes, they haven't dropped yet, but they may eventually drop. And when they do start dropping, then you've got this 5% deposit scheme.
Yeah.
So people who have very little equity, they're going to be being sued by the government potentially. So these idiots who believe the government, come with us, come roll up to the first 5% home buy. They've written their own death warrant.
So there is a mechanic that exists in Australia that doesn't exist in the US that would be the single greatest mechanic to have a government voted out of power. And that is
full
that
recourse loans.
Yes. If you owe a bank money and the bank sells for less than the amount you owe them, you have no asset and you still owe them money. In the US, you don't, right? And
That's where the jingle mail thing comes from.
Yeah, and so can you imagine a better way to get someone to vote against the government?
We've been bankrupted.
Then we've sold your home out from under you, and by the way, you still owe $50,000 to the bank.
Yeah.
That is instantly voting against
We actually
the
owe
government.
$50,000 to us. The bank's been paid, the equity's negative, so they owe the government money as well.
The problem is, what if the bank? No, but it's worse. What if you bought
And you owe
a
the
$1
bank.
million
And you owe the bank.
house,
And
you had $950,000
Yeah.
of debt, and you only got $900,000 for the property.
Yeah.
So you incinerated your own equity.
Well, could be
That's gone.
$700,000 for the property potentially.
And so you're going to have to go bankrupt because
No, where the government's guaranteeing that is part of this 5%.
The whole
thing as well.
gap.
The 15% gap. So if it goes down to 600,000, then the bank will sue you.
Yeah.
But let's use your example.
Well, you should talk about that more clearly. So you go and buy $1 million property.
We talked about this at the time,
Forget
remember?
about stamp duty. You go and buy $1 million property, and the bank you only need a 5%
put 50 grand down.
deposit. So you put $50K. So you've had to work for that $50K.
Yeah.
And then the government and the bank will lend you $950.
Yeah.
What does the government
The
guarantee?
government's guaranteed 150, which is the gap between 80 and 95, which is what the mortgage insurers would otherwise do, and usually you pay this mortgage insurance.
Okay. So if you sell for $800,000.
Yeah. Well, the bank sells for $800,000.
Yeah, because the bank will take your property. This is what happens. $800K, the bank gets back their full $950 because they get the $800 they sold the property for and the $150 that the government promised to pay them.
I'm going to take Mike and Joel's hard-fought taxpayer dollars that they've made on their CGT. There's now been taxed at 47%. They'll take these young people's CGT at 47, and I can give it to
the bank.
Give it to the bank.
Give it to the bank.
Bank's okay. Bank's got their money.
Bank's fine. You lost your $50K deposit.
Yep.
Good night.
Yep.
Now let's imagine it sells for $700.
No. And I owe the government 150 grand now because the government's given me this guarantee. The government still wants its cash.
Is that real? Is that right?
Yes.
So is that right?
Apparently.
So you think that the homeowner has a $150,000 debt to the government?
That's my understanding of it.
Well, that would be ridiculous.
So I don't think the government wants to be on the hook for this.
Well, they are. Well, I got news for you. no one can afford to pay back that $150,000. So the taxpayer is on the hook for it. And what will happen is either the government has to write that off on behalf of taxpayers or first bankrupt the voter, not popular for votes,
But I think,
and then write it off.
Otherwise, create this massive moral hazard where the people just get this free money and have just burnt it all.
So I think realistically that moral hazard exists, and I think there's a second bigger.
But I don't think anybody realises moral hazard exists till we've just pointed it out.
What's the chance of a government that needs votes going to a voter and saying you owe us $150,000?
There aren't that many. It's not going to happen to 1 million people. It might happen to 10,000 people. There's not that many.
10,000 young people.
But it's 10,000
whose
people.
votes swing seats.
But they're disparate over Australia.
Maybe or maybe not.
It's a lot of cost that the government's bearing if they don't go
But
after
they can't get that money back.
Eventually you get it back.
Over 20 years?
People have other assets and other stuff like this.
So now you sell that house for $700K. So now there's been a 30% drop.
Yeah.
Very plausible.
Then you've got the banks.
Okay, so
going
now
after you as well.
$700K, the bank is owed $950. They get $700. The bank gives them the extra $150. Now they're up to $850. They're still $100,000 owing.
Yeah.
So now you owe the bank $100K and
absolutely.
the government $150.
Yeah.
Well, that is a great outcome. Thank you very much, Elbow.
Jim Chalmers.
Or Jim Chalmers
Thank
for
you, Jim.
giving. I mean, this is where we're sitting at the moment with this risk.
And then when that happens, all the bank share prices suddenly get smashed because they've got all these arrears. Suddenly they've got these bad debt. This is what happened in 1990. All these bad debts started appearing. And what have all these other people got as their biggest investment when you got an index fund, for example? It's in the 4 big banks, which are 4 of the top 5 largest Australian businesses. So you've got leverage built on we talk about this in the AI
there is
thing.
no
There's leverage
way-
built on leverage built on leverage. The government has not simply stood by and allowed, has actually encouraged.
So what's the bank going to do? Because who's first in line? That's the next question. So you owe the government $150 and the bank $100. Who's first in line?
That's a great question.
So who knows?
I'd probably say the government. I'd probably say the bank because the bank has security over the property. I doubt the government does.
I
but
think you're right
without
about
seeing the
that.
documents, I don't know.
I think you're right. And so the government might be a bit lenient on the taxpayer because they want votes.
Yeah.
But the bank won't
ain't.
be.
You don't
And
care
so
about
the
votes.
bank is sending you into bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. They'll take whatever you've got. They'll take the knives and forks out of your top drawer, sell those.
What banks will probably do with a lot of people, because they don't want to be bankrupting people either because it's costly and they get less. They probably enter a scheme with the person where they say, why don't you give him back $5,000 a year the next 20? Whatever it is, it's not great either way, but banks don't want to bankrupt people anymore.
So I'm going to tell you how this ends, okay? If this happens, I don't know it's going to happen.
It's in the movie Titanic.
But
Think of James Cameron.
But we're in a dangerous moment of falling prices, and unemployment's not rising as we just discussed, but it will.
Well, in Victoria it is.
That's right. We're going to have a recession, right? And so basically, you've got this situation where I predict this would happen if such a circumstance arose. The opposition, whoever they were, one of their pitches to get into power would be a HEX-like wipeout, like the government wiped out a whole lot of HEX debt. They would say anyone that owes money to the government based on this idiotic 5% scheme, we're going to write off that debt on behalf of the taxpayer. That's what's going to happen. It is absolutely moral hazard. Like what the government is currently doing, they've done it. Like where we sit today is that a young person using the 5% scheme is potentially setting themselves up for catastrophe.
We said this as soon as we heard it.
I
It
know,
was so
but
obvious
the
this was going to
next
happen.
step on the
We didn't
road-
expect Jim to completely destroy
That's
them,
right.
but
The next step on the road to destruction has been taken.
Yeah, absolutely.
with the property prices.
We should add
falling.
one more victim of this is the state government's already laden with debt. What happens when there's no properties transacting?
Absolutely.
Half the revenue comes from stamp duty.
Absolutely.
So Victoria's already basically bankrupt, and Jim's just cost them half their revenue. All they got is a bit of gambling and payroll taxes. So imagine how bad Victoria's going to be in 3 years' time with no properties transacting.
Well, you say Victoria's bankrupt, but we can actually say something slightly different to that in more kind of precise financial terms. Victoria, the only reason Victoria is not insolvent is because lenders are still prepared to give Victoria money.
Buy their bonds, essentially.
That's right. But Victoria has no ability to raise enough tax to
repay it.
Yeah, to repay it, to work our way out of it, let's call it. Like we can pay the interest from taxes.
Well, barely, because 1 in every $10 of revenue is going to the interest now.
Yeah.
That's like, this is like 1991 sort of stuff.
So Victoria is very close to insolvent. And when people say we exist at the grace of our
Yeah,
bankers.
absolutely.
That's Victoria right now, without a doubt.
We used to see the grace of the Australian government that bankers know that, as you said, the
That's
Australian government
right.
will bank stop
The Australian government won't let Victoria go broke
Yeah.
because too much sovereign risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff going on in this country.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
On that very somber note, we'll end it there. It's been a great episode, as always. We're going to do another business episode on Saturday. We had a huge response to last week's business episode where we talked about a bunch of really cool business stories. So, going to do a couple of really good ones this week as well. So, don't miss out. Can't wait to speak to everybody on Saturday.
Absolutely.